Hello everybody, I'm George Jardine, Pro Photography Evangelist at Adobe Systems. In this short movie, I'm going to give you a quick overview of beta release number 1 of Adobe Lightroom. It's important to keep in mind as we go along that Lightroom is not nearly a finished product yet, so the features and user interface are still evolving pretty rapidly. So if you watch this movie and then compare it to a build you may have downloaded from the Adobe Labs website, the features you see on your own computer will probably look a little different than those you see here, but the basics should all be very similar. Now, also keep in mind that in this movie I'm going to skim over a lot of important detail. I'm only going to try and give you an overview of the basic structure of the application. In the coming weeks, I'll also be making movies on the Develop module, Slideshow, and Print modules that will go into much greater detail, so watch for those on the Adobe Labs website. When you first launch Lightroom, this will be your default view of the library. You have a thumbnail grid in the middle, which can easily be changed into one of 3 different viewing modes by clicking these buttons right down here. There's also a shortcut key to access each mode. To go into the loop mode, click this middle button or press the E key. The return key and the spacebar also toggle between different views. And of course, in the loop view, you can use the arrow keys to quickly cycle through your photos while watching what's coming and going down here in the film strip. Watch as I move through these 16 megapixel photos. I think you'll find that the performance is pretty fantastic. And I'm recording this movie on a common laptop configuration, so Lightroom will run beautifully on real-world hardware. Okay, let's get back to the grid view. Pressing G takes me back to the grid. Now this third button flips you into compare mode, which you can also get to by pressing the C key. When you go into compare mode, Lightroom will display any number of photos that you have selected in the grid, and you can add or remove them from the compare view by selecting or deselecting them down here in the film strip, like this. And you can also command click right on a photo in compare to remove it from the compare pane by deselecting it. This is an area we'll be adding a lot of new functionality to during the coming few months to help you speed up and refine the process of editing your shoots. But I'm jumping ahead. Let's get back to the basics of the library. The panels on the left side of the library give you all the options you need to select and manage the photos you want to work on. Up here at the very top of the list, you have 3 very handy permanent entries. You can click right here to view your entire library right in the grid, like this. And we have the Quick Collection link, which we'll talk more about in just a few minutes. And you can also click here to see just the photos from your last import. Finding photos in your library is easy too. I'll just click to go back to the view of my entire library, and I can filter that view by simply typing a few characters from a shoot name or from any keyword. For instance, if I type in the first few characters from the keyword portrait, I'll instantly filter my library down to just show those photos that have that tag applied. Clicking on a keyword here in the Keywords panel has exactly the same effect. By the way, note that you can also drag and drop keywords from this panel to quickly apply them to any selected photos right in the grid. Once I've found the group of photos that I want to view by clicking a keyword, I can further narrow that view to just the photos I want to see by filtering by rank. So cranking up the slider, I can progressively see those photos tagged with higher and higher ranks, like this. Okay, next comes shoots. Each time you import a batch of photos, 1 or more shoots are created here, depending upon the options you've selected in the import dialog. So in general, I try to keep all the photos from a given outing or photo session together in one shoot. Now, when working with Lightroom, it's important to understand that unlike other closed applications, Lightroom offers you complete flexibility in letting you determine how and where it stores your photos on your disk. During import, you can choose to have Lightroom copy or move your photos into its Manage Library location by choosing one of these 2 options, or you can choose to have Lightroom leave everything just as it is and reference your photos in their existing location by choosing this item. This will leave all your files in any predefined folder structures that you may have already created, even if those folders are on secondary or external hard drives. Okay, file renaming. If you choose to allow Lightroom to copy or move your photos into its managed library space, then of course you have complete flexibility for renaming them as they are moved. Now, when you are importing photos into either the managed library space or using the unmanaged choice, Lightroom then gives you the option of segmenting your import into multiple shoots based on the folders they are in, which are shown right down here, or you can segment your shoot by the date the photos were shot on, which may or may not create more than one shoot. Or if you simply want to create one big shoot from the folder or volume you are importing, just check this option off. Down here, notice that you can tag your photos on import with a copyright notice, and over here you have a few more options for customizing the shoot name or applying keywords during import, etc. But keep in mind that a lot of the features in import are not done yet, and much of our metadata support has not yet been added to the public beta builds. So you'll see lots more capability in this area in the near future. And just one more note about these so-called managed and unmanaged shoots. The cool thing about Lightroom is that you can mix and match them right here in your library. One day you may be importing a new shoot directly from a card, and you'll want to copy the photos directly into your library. Another time, you may be importing a shoot that you copied to your computer and organized by folders months ago. So that control and flexibility is what makes Lightroom a superior product. And despite the fact that we give you this flexibility with regard to how you access and manage your photos, the Lightroom library is actually built around a fully relational database, giving you all the search capabilities and speed you would expect from a database over a file browser. It's sort of like having the best of both worlds. Okay, back to shoots. Now, shoots are just a bit different from collections in that any given photo can only belong to one shoot at a time. Dragging a photo from one shoot to another doesn't actually move its physical location on your hard drive, but it does change this exclusive tag so that it will now appear only in the shoot you've dragged it to. On the other hand, a single photo from any shoot in your library can appear in any number of collections. So, a photo from the shoot that I'm currently viewing can be referenced in both my portfolio collection and my black and white collection. Now, in the current beta build, these instances that I've created in more than one collection will all share one set of raw settings. If I change those settings in one collection, it will change them everywhere. But in the near future, we will be rolling in new functionality that will make it possible for you to have different raw settings on each instance. So watch for that. Okay, enough with the library panel already. Let's take a quick look at your viewing options in the library. I want to quickly go through the photos in this Aptos Beach shoot and throw together a little slideshow. First, note that double-clicking a photo in the grid or in the film strip will zoom it up to loop view. Also notice that if I then click right on the photo, it will instantly zoom up to 1:1 right here in the library to show you a full-resed image rendered directly from the raw pixels so that you can easily see what's in focus and what isn't. In 1:1 view, I can pan around, and I can also click and drag around over here in the thumbnail to navigate. Clicking just once again on the image takes me back to loop view. Just a note on our terminology here. We call this full view of your photo the loop view because that's exactly what a photographer sees on a light table when they use a magnifier called a loop. The 1:1 view is not a loop view, so we just call it what it is, a 1:1 view of your pixels. Okay, now this true loop view is nice, but if I'm going to rank these photos, I want to eliminate some or all of the UI so that I can concentrate more fully on the actual pictures. An important theme in the development of Lightroom has been how to get the UI out of the photographer's way so that you can fully concentrate on making your photographs appear their very best. So we've given you a number of little configuration options in the library to help with that. First, pressing the F key a couple of times expands the window to full screen and eliminates the system menu bar at the top. Okay, that's a start. Next, hitting the Tab key hides both panels. Now it's important to note here that even though your panels are hidden, if you need to zoom in or make a quick adjustment, you can roll your mouse over the edge of the screen and that panel will reappear for you to use for zooming or making an adjustment or whatever. And then rolling your mouse off, the panel will just as quickly disappear. If you want to keep one panel or the other open for a while, just click along this edge where you see this little arrow icon and the screen will reconfigure itself to accommodate the panel. Click again and it goes away. To further maximize my screen real estate, I can press F5 to hide the module picker or F6 to hide the film strip. And last but not least, holding down the Shift key and pressing Tab will hide or show everything all together. So that's the fast shortcut to making your photos as large as they can possibly get on your screen. Now I'm going to be creating a slideshow, so I just want to be seeing the photos and nothing else. Here's a really cool trick that'll help with that. Just press the L key once and all the UI around your photo will dim back, whether you have the panel showing or not. We actually call this lights dim mode. And pressing the L key once more takes you to lights out. Cool, huh? Now I can cycle through my photos using the arrow keys without any visual distractions at all. Now I can make my picture as big as it'll get by pressing Shift Tab again, And I'm ready to cycle through my images using the arrow keys without any visual distractions. So I'm just going to cycle through these photos, and as I go along viewing them, I can very easily add the ones that I want to use in my slideshow to a quick collection by just pressing the B key. Nothing else, just B. And when I'm done going through the whole collection, and I jump back to view my panels and menus, you can see that I now have the selects that I want to show from this shoot in my quick collection. Clicking on the quick collection here in the library displays the photos in the grid, just like it would if you were viewing any other shoot or collection. The quick collection is just a handy temporary storage place that you can use to build up a group of photos, possibly taking them from multiple shoots, that you might want to take downstream to print, or make a slideshow out of, or export, or whatever. Okay, we're almost ready to make our slideshow, but before we go there, I just want to show you one more thing here in the library, the Quick Develop panel. Now, I more or less like my exposures on these beach shots, but I think I just want to make them all a bit darker and add just a touch of contrast to each one of them. I don't really want to go into the Develop module, which is where I get my full set of camera raw controls. So this is a perfect job for Quick Develop. I'll just double-click on the loop on one of these, and in the Quick Develop panel, I'll just click once or twice to bring down my white point on the exposure, and I'll just click a couple of times to give it a bit more contrast, and then I'm done. That's much better. Now back to the grid. Now I want to apply that new look to all of these sand photos. I could choose to copy and paste that setting, or what would be just a bit easier would be to just select all and then hit the synchronize button. Now notice when I selected all these images, the one I started with has this extra very thin black line around it, which is telling me that it has the special status of being the most selected. You can also tell which is most selected because it's the one you see over here in the navigator. Now clicking Synchronize will take those new settings from the most selected photo and apply them to the rest of the photos that are selected in the grid. And for a moment you'll see the little spinning busy indicator on those frames telling you Lightroom is updating the thumbnails. Keep in mind that these adjustments in Quick Develop represent just the most very basic processing controls that you're likely to need in the library while editing your shoots. In this short movie, we're not going to touch on the greatly enhanced set of camera raw controls that you'll find in the Develop module. There's so much that's new in Develop. It will warrant a tutorial movie of its own that you'll see on the Adobe Labs website soon. Also, keep in mind that Lightroom is a completely non-destructive editing environment. All the changes you make to any file type in Lightroom, whether it's TIFF, JPEG, PSD, or RAW, are applied non-destructively as a set of processing instructions. So Lightroom is completely non-destructive. But if you want to, you can take any photo you're working on out to Photoshop by simply choosing this item from the Photo menu or by hitting Command E. This will write a tone-mapped file into your library, incorporating all of your Lightroom applied adjustments, and hand it off to Photoshop for further editing. And of course, your original is preserved untouched in the Lightroom library. Okay, I think we're finally ready to go build a slideshow. With my quick collection targeted in the library, I'll just click Slideshow up here in the module picker. Now again, I'm only going to touch on the basics of this very cool module. There are way too many great features to cover them in any detail in this short movie. First, remember that when I came into the slideshow module, I had all the photos in my quick collection selected. And because they were all selected, they ended up here in my slideshow grid, indicating that they will be included in my slideshow. If there's one that I decide to leave out, I can simply command click on it down here in the film strip, which will deselect it, remove it from the grid, and hence from my slideshow. But note that it stays here in the film strip because it's still part of the quick collection that we're working on, so I can change my mind and add it back later if I want to. Also, notice that I can click and drag photos around in the grid to reorder them in my slideshow, which is very helpful. Over here, you'll see that we've included some templates for your slideshows, like this one to show your basic EXIF camera data, or this one called widescreen to show your photos at the maximum screen size. But I'd like to create my own template. I like the black background in the widescreen template, so I'll start with that one. By double-clicking a photo in the grid, I go to Loop View. It's here that I can roll my mouse over the edge to find the margin and just click and drag to reduce the size of the photo a little bit. Notice that all four margins reduce together because they are all linked over here in the Layout panel. If I want to move the image up on the screen just a little bit, I can just check off that top margin link and then go over here and just click and drag it up a bit higher. Now when I drag one of the other margins, I'm scaling just the three that are still linked. There, that's better. Now I have the layout I want, so I have room to show my identity plate. I'll just turn that on here.